Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something pretty ambitious. We're really taking a detailed look, almost like a forensic examination, what it takes for a huge organization, one facing existential threats, to do more than just survive. We're talking about a transformation so complete, it almost makes their eventual success seem, inevitable in hindsight. So if you're looking to understand how a vision, one that was really swamped by doubt and external pressure, can actually morph into this self-sustaining global movement, then yeah, you were definitely in the right place. Our mission today is laser focused. We're diving deep into this really powerful narrative we have regarding non-passive. Specifically, we're looking at that critical transformation period they call the silent storm, and what came after the victorious comeback. We're trying to pull out the core strategy, the strategic thinking, the tech pivots, and the leadership ideas from Ash McFar that really drove this dramatic organizational shift. We're treating this narrative we have not just as like company history, but almost as a blueprint for extreme resilience. Strategic reinvention under intense pressure.
Yeah, and what jumps out right away in this narrative is just the texture of it. I mean, this isn't just a simple story about a company pivoting. We're looking at a chronicle of, radical resilience. It's guided by this visionary leadership embodied by Ash McFar, and it really hinged on a massive, almost you could say, reckless commitment to integrating AI. And crucially, a very deliberate and apparently successful effort towards empowering their community. This account really reads like a study in strategic withdrawal, followed by just overwhelming technological force.
That phrase withdrawal, followed by force, it feels like the absolute heart of this whole deep dive, doesn't it? And it leads us straight to that central conflict, the mystery, really. How did a company that was explicitly facing, and I'm quoting the source here, challenges, uncertainties, and pressures from external forces, how did they not only survive, but pull off the great comeback? We're talking serious heavyweights here. Government interference, entrenched competition from global tech giants, and this constant background noise of relentless critics. I mean, most organizations facing that combination, they just fold.
It really is the ultimate test, isn't it? Internal discipline versus all that external noise. And the source gives us Ash McFar's guiding principle right at the start, which kind of dictates the whole strategy for this period. He states, and this is really the lens we need to use for this whole analysis, victory is not built in comfort, it's built in persistence and resilience. And just like that, it reframes the whole challenge. The crisis wasn't just some accident they had to get through, it was, strategically speaking, a necessary phase. A phase for refinement and for strengthening.
Right. Not a bug, but a feature of the process almost.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's unpack that environment. We have to start where the conflict really ignited this hostile territory before the comeback. This wasn't just, a tough quarter. The source describes an ecosystem genuinely under siege.
Precisely. And the pressure wasn't just from one direction, it was multifaceted, hitting all at once. The source points out three major forces creating this hostile environment. First, there was external interference, specifically government intervention and regulatory pressure. Now that kind of challenge, it doesn't just slow you down, it can freeze operations entirely, eat up vast amounts of legal resources, and just destroy morale. It's a systemic kind of risk.
Yeah, it attacks the very legitimacy of the operation.
Exactly. Second, you had the intense competition from these established global tech giants. I mean, these are the incumbents, right? They have almost limitless resources, established market trust, decades of inertia working for them, trying to compete with them on their own terms, through massive ad spends, or just adding small features. That's usually a losing game for a disruptor.
And then the third layer was that reputational attack, the widespread criticism that basically doubted the founder's entire vision. That's like death by 1,000 cuts, isn't it? It eats away at internal confidence, scares off potential new users or founders.
Yeah.
So let's frame this for you, the listener. This is that critical moment, the point where most companies would crumble. You're being squeezed legally, commercially, and reputationally. The easiest path, the safest one, is just to pivot away from the core vision, dilute it, or maybe worse, just dissolve the whole thing to cut your losses. But the narrative says they did something completely different, something radical, counterintuitive.
That radical choice was the internal withdrawal, the phase they famously called the silent storm. This was the moment the leadership apparently decided, right, we disengage from the public fight completely. They stopped focusing on external PR, stopped reacting constantly to the market noise, and instead they prioritized exclusively internal product perfection. But critically, this wasn't, a period of hiding and fear. It was presented as a strategic repositioning to manage the chaos.
And the detail here is fascinating. The source says this was a phase where revolutionary ideas and technologies were being perfected, completely behind the scenes. They essentially went dark to polish their ultimate weapon, this total reinvention. But hang on, if they went dark, cut off public communication during this silent storm, how did they simultaneously manage what the outline mentioned as this intense internal communication and transparency with their core base? Isn't that a contradiction?
See, that's the tension, right. And it really defines Mufari's leadership during that crisis, according to this account. The source implies a very deliberate distinction: public silence versus private transparency. Mufari, as portrayed here, was prioritizing the foundation over public perception. He was effectively telling the outside world, look, we're busy building something amazing, check back later. But internally, he maintained an exceptionally high level of communication with that global network of founders and affiliates. It suggests a really disciplined internal strategy, one that viewed the founder community not just as customers, but as genuine partners who needed constant reinforcement of the vision, especially during that difficult time.
Wow, that requires incredible discipline. Most leaders, when they're under fire, they default to aggressive public reassurance, right? Constant press releases, interviews. Mufari's leadership, as asserted here, completely reversed that. He was essentially saying, we'll let the quality, the foundational strength of what we build speak for itself later. Right now, we build something invincible.
So the natural question is, what exactly were they building during that time? The silent storm wasn't just, general R&D tinkering. It sounds like it was very guided, very targeted development, focused specifically on overcoming those three big external pressures we just talked about.
Okay, let's break down those key internal focus areas then. What defined this strengthening phase?
Absolutely. The focus seems to be threefold, and you can see how each point acts as a direct strategic countermeasure. First, they focused intensely on AI-driven systems development. Okay, so in a world where tech giants already use advanced data and machine learning, their core advantage had to be automation and intelligence integrated deeper than competitors could easily replicate. This probably involved not just, adding a few AI features here and there, but rewriting the core logic of the entire operating system to be fundamentally AI native.
Right, so they weren't just bolting AI onto old tech structures. They were creating an AI framework that would govern every interaction from the ground up.
That's certainly the implication you get from the narrative's emphasis on total reinvention. Second, they massively enhance security protocols. This directly answers the government interference concerns and, obviously, the cyber threats. If this network was going to work globally, handle financial transactions, its integrity had to be absolutely beyond reproach. So, strengthening defenses, things like O-Virtual, integrating identity management like O-Verify that was paramount, it's a direct defense against both legal and digital attacks.
Makes sense. The integrity of the whole network becomes the absolute prerequisite for the entire movement's survival, let alone success.
And third, maybe the most critical piece for the eventual comeback: rebuilding trust with the global network of founders and affiliates. This meant showing the community, through concrete actions, and that internal transparency we mentioned despite the public silence, that the vision was absolutely not abandoned. Because if that community loses faith during the dark period, well, any technological comeback becomes irrelevant, right? There'd be no enthusiastic audience ready to embrace it.
That distinction is key. Addressing the tech competition with AI, addressing the external attacks with security, and tackling the internal uncertainty with relentless trust building. That really highlights the strategic thinking behind the silent storm. It turned a crisis period into this deliberate, almost surgical strengthening phase. It proved the foundation could actually withstand the worst possible storm. Okay, so moving from that defensive posture of the silent storm, we now enter what feels like the aggressive offense, the blueprint stage. The narrative is really clear here. Mufari's goal wasn't just like launching a corporate upgrade. The source really emphasizes his ambition. It wasn't just about creating a company, it was about creating a movement.
And that word movement instantly sets a very high bar, doesn't it? A movement implies something bigger: cultural change, economic change, maybe even social transformation, not just grabbing market share. So to succeed, especially against those tech giants, the comeback had to meet three really stringent criteria laid out in the source. It had to be innovative, it had to be inclusive, and it had to be invincible. These three words seem to be the non-negotiable parameters for the whole new ecosystem blueprint.
Let's just pause on those words for a second. Innovative, okay, that's table stakes in tech.
Yeah.
But inclusive, that speaks directly to that global democratized vision, right? Empowering everyone. And invincible,
Well, that ties straight back to the fortified security they built during the silent storm.
Exactly. And the genius of the blueprint, at least as it's presented in this narrative, is how Mufara translated that philosophical ideal, innovative, inclusive, invincible, into a very concrete 5-pillar strategy. This is where the theory of a movement started to become a practical technological reality. These 5 pillars really define the scope of the whole reinvention. Pillar 1, unifying platforms. Now, this sounds like a massive technical challenge. The strategy was apparently merging all their products, which must have been separate systems developed over time, into one single, seamless ecosystem. For the user, the promise is obvious. Easier navigation, better integration, making it way more accessible for maybe a less technical global audience.
Wait, I have to push back on that a bit, just based on, tech history.
Yeah.
Unifying disparate tech stacks, especially under the kind of pressure they were under during the silent storm, that usually leads to disaster, right? Bugs, delays, systems crashing. What does the source imply was the secret sauce here?
Yeah.
How did Mufara supposedly pull this off without breaking everything?
That's a fair challenge. The narrative strongly suggests the key was that deep AI native foundation we talked about earlier. If every single component was being rebuilt from the ground up to operate within a common AI-managed framework, which connects to Pillar 4, then the integration wasn't really about trying to stitch old systems together. It was more like launching brand new interconnected components almost simultaneously. The complexity, theoretically, was managed by the AI itself, creating a kind of self-organizing digital structure. So you minimize complexity for the user, but you absorb it on the back end using AI.
Okay, that context is crucial. That makes more sense. Moving on to Pillar 2 then.
Pillar 2 was advanced security systems. Given the attacks they faced during the silent storm, this wasn't just a feature, it had to be the bedrock of trust. The goal was a trust-based network, highly resistant to cyber attacks and fraud. And the source specifically calls out the tools O-Verify and O-Virtual.
Let's try and define those functionally, based on what the narrative implies. O-Verify sounds like it handles identity assurance. Given the global aim, this suggests pretty sophisticated, maybe AI-driven authentication, something beyond just passwords to ensure every user and transaction is legitimate.
Correct. That seems right. And O-Virtual would then be the fortified digital environment itself, the core shield, protecting the entire operation from outside threats. This likely involves layers of real-time monitoring, threat detection, again, probably powered by that AI core, making the ecosystem invincible in Mufara's terms.
Got it. Now, Pillar 3 tackled global payment freedom. This feels like the democratic linchpin of the whole thing. If the goal really is global financial empowerment, you have to solve the money flow problem.
Yeah, and this is perhaps the most logistically complex pillar. O-Wallet was apparently re-engineered not just for user convenience, but specifically to support secure, fast, and critically borderless transactions. Now, achieving true borderless capability while keeping it secure, that means navigating a maze of international regulations and potentially using decentralized or maybe proprietary payment tech to get around the slow, restrictive traditional banking systems, especially in underserved parts of the world.
That detail is so important. The movement aspect really takes hold if you could democratize financial access and mobility, letting users in, say, Africa or Asia interact with the commerce platforms just as easily as someone in Europe or North America.
Moving on to Pillar 4, AI automation everywhere. Again, this wasn't just a nice to have. The blueprint demanded that every single tool, whether for marketing, communication, e-commerce, whatever, had to be powered by AI. This is what transforms the ecosystem from just a collection of apps into a truly smart platform.
So it's not just about making things more efficient. It's about enabling smarter business decisions, better user personalization, without the user needing a PhD in AI, right?
Yeah.
The AI does the heavy lifting, so the individual can just focus on their business or their goals.
Exactly. The AI essentially acts as the automated chief operating officer for every single founder or small business using the platform. And finally, that brings us to Pillar 5. Community empowerment. This is the philosophical capstone. The blueprint explicitly mandated building a framework where success, where victories were collective, they were shared. This ties right back to that focus on rebuilding trust during the silent storm. The network succeeds because the individuals succeed, and vice versa. It's described as a truly interdependent model for growth.
Okay, so we can really see the transition now. They moved from pure defense in the silent storm to this incredibly ambitious offense defined by these 5 pillars. It set the stage for a really dramatic, revolutionary reveal, one that absolutely had to meet the high bar set by these 5 commitments. Right. This brings us to that crucial moment, the turning point, the unveiling of the new ecosystem 2.0.
And we really need to stress the definition of reinvention used here. The source insists this was a total reinvention, not just, version 2.0 of the software.
Yeah, total reinvention implies a fundamental shift, a change in the core architecture, the whole strategy. It was defined, according to the source, as a revolution in how technology, communication, and business would just seamlessly intertwine. The challenge, of course, was actually integrating those 5 strategic pillars: AI, security, unification, payments, and empowerment into something that worked. A cohesive whole that instantly provided overwhelming value to the users.
And the proof, right? The technological validation had to be powerful enough to finally silence those relentless critics who'd been doubting the vision all through the silent storm. So what were the key launches, the features that signaled this psychological and technological win?
Well, the features launched covered the whole spectrum of digital operations. It was designed to provide comprehensive capability right out of the gate. Starting with global connectivity, they unveiled real-time global communications with OConnect 2.0. Now, for a movement built on global reach, OConnect 2.0 suggests a really robust, low-latency platform, something capable of handling massive numbers of simultaneous instant interactions across very different infrastructures and huge geographical distances.
Yeah, absolutely essential for a globally distributed movement.
Right.
And then came the collaboration tools, moving beyond just basic online meetings.
Yes, the AI-powered collaboration suite. This included OPeer and OChat. OPeer, well, that likely facilitates secure interaction within the network, among founders. Perhaps using AI to suggest collaborations or maybe optimize group efficiency. And OChat, going beyond just simple messaging, probably incorporated integrated AI assistants, things like automated meeting summaries, maybe predictive text suggestions tailored to specific business goals, or even real-time translation for that global user base.
Making sure communication isn't just fast, but smart.
Absolutely. Next, they tackled the core business functions. That was through the intelligent marketing tools, Audit and O-Tracker. This is where that AI automation pillar really delivers tangible value for the end user.
Okay, let's get specific here because the initial analysis felt a bit high level. If these are sophisticated AI-driven marketing tools, what exactly is their implied function within this unified ecosystem?
Good question. Audit, thinking about the name audit, edit, maybe creation likely uses AI for automated content generation and optimization. So imagine you're a small business owner. Audit might instantly analyze market trends, check how effective your current campaigns are, and then automatically generate tailored marketing content for multiple platforms. We're talking text, images, maybe even basic video scripts, all optimized for performance based on the insights coming from O-Tracker. O-Tracker then provides those deep performance insights. But this isn't just showing you click-through rates. This sounds more like AI predictive modeling, analyzing complex data from across the whole unified dashboard to actually predict customer behavior, optimize sales funnels in real time, and provide actionable business intelligence that previously you'd need a whole dedicated analytics team to get.
Wow. Okay, that level of AI-driven optimization made accessible to someone who isn't an expert. That genuinely democratizes top-tier marketing capabilities. That's huge.
And finally, rounding out the suite and hitting that commerce pillar was the introduction of O-Shop, described as the next-level shopping experience. O-Shop is the engine for commerce, right? It leverages the unified platform, the borderless payments, the smart marketing tools to create this robust global marketplace. This is where the founders and affiliates actually monetize their efforts.
And the key takeaway from this whole launch sequence, and this is the psychological breakthrough the narrative really emphasizes, is the direct result. This launch silenced critics and reignited hope among founders worldwide. It just demonstrates the incredible power of delivering concrete results after such a long period of, silent struggle and pervasive doubt.
The victory here wasn't just technological. The source explicitly calls it psychological. The perception shifted. They went from being seen as this vulnerable startup under attack to an emerging global powerhouse. And that shift in credibility, that's often the single hardest thing for any company staging a comeback to achieve. Especially when you're up against established giants and powerful critics. They literally use the quality of the invention, the ecosystem itself, to defeat the external noise.
And that mental shift, that psychological victory, takes us straight into this whole discussion of resilience, which Ash Mufareh, according to the source, defines not just as a passive quality like endurance, but as the actual fuel for victory. It's framed as an operational necessity, the energy source you need to execute the comeback.
Yeah, it's more than just bouncing back. It's the capacity to absorb massive blows and then actually redirect that energy into building something even stronger. The narrative details how the team, the community, they didn't just survive the challenges, they apparently bounced back stronger than before. Why? Because the infrastructure built during the Silent Storm was specifically designed for stress. Resilience in this context means learning from attacks, hardening the systems, and accelerating development rather than just patching things up after a hit.
And crucially, they faced specific, measurable challenges right after the launch that really validated that whole Silent Storm strategy. Let's detail those 3 major hurdles the source mentions they had to clear immediately.
Right. The source outlines 3 big tests that basically prove the foundation's strength. 1, withstanding cyber attacks. Apparently, the new ecosystem was targeted almost immediately, but they successfully defended against these attacks because they had proactively strengthened O-Virtual's defenses during the Silent Storm. This just proves that the huge investment in security paid off right away, tangibly. The fortress held.
Okay, validation point 1, what's next?
2, navigating and overcoming legal hurdles. They faced aggressive legal challenges, reportedly initiated by powerful competitors trying to stop them. But the source notes they came out victorious. Now, this suggests that the internal focus on integrity, which we'll touch on later, as a core principle and transparency, allowed them to defeat these challenges, not just through clever lawyering, but by being demonstrably ethical and forward-thinking in how they operated.
Interesting. So integrity is a shield. And the 3rd hurdle?
3, combating internal doubts. The narrative is realistic enough to acknowledge the internal skepticism, maybe even fragmentation, that naturally creeps in during any extended crisis. They overcame this sort of quiet killer by relentlessly focusing everyone back on the unifying, almost altruistic purpose, lifting humanity through technology. That mission became the internal compass, guiding decisions and rallying the community when things got tough.
Right. Once they cleared that gauntlet, the cyber attacks, the legal fights, the internal wobbles, the atmosphere must have been, as the source puts it, electric. Especially during the official victory launch event. This wasn't just another press conference. It sounds like a genuine celebration of survival and triumph.
It was positioned as a declaration of permanence. Ash Mufarah's keynote wasn't tentative at all. He declared, "This is not just a comeback. This is a revolution. We are here to stay, to grow, and to change the world forever." I mean, that statement signals the definitive end of playing defense. It's the aggressive start of global market expansion.
And the specific features unveiled at that launch really cemented the confidence, didn't they? They tied all the earlier pieces together into what felt like a perfected, complete system.
Exactly. These were like the capstone integrations that truly finished Ecosystem 2.0. First, seamless access. All the products were now accessible in one unified dashboard. Finally, fulfilling Pillar 1 completely. The ecosystem became one single place to operate from, drastically simplifying the user experience.
Makes sense. What else?
Second, major O-Wallet updates were announced. Things like instant withdrawals and support for multiple currencies. This directly addressed the financial latency issue and really solidified that global payment freedom pillar. It met immediate community needs around accessing their funds.
And crucial for maintaining trust and momentum.
Third, they introduced a founder-exclusive loyalty rewards program. This was the tangible payoff, the manifestation of the community empowerment pillar, directly rewarding the people who shown faith, shown persistence, and stuck with the vision right through the silent storm.
Acknowledging that early commitment.
And finally, they rolled out the powerful AI analytics for both businesses and individuals. This delivered on that promise of AI automation everywhere, turning all that raw data flowing through the system into actionable, personalized intelligence for literally everyone on the platform.
So they effectively armed their community with these powerful tools. Which brings us to maybe the most fascinating strategic piece, facing the world's biggest tech corporations. The reaction from the giants must have been intense imitation, opposition.
The reaction, according to this narrative, was exactly what you'd expect. Attempts at imitation and aggressive campaigns to discredit them. But Mufarah's counter-strategy here is portrayed as redefining the entire competitive landscape. He simply refused to fight them on their terms.
His statement is quoted as, "We don't compete, we create. While others copy, we innovate." That's a tactical masterstroke, isn't it? It's a profound dismissal of the competition. It positions On Passive not as just another challenger fighting for scraps, but as the definer of a whole new category.
It completely shifts the focus away from those market share battles, which, let's face it, the giants are built to win, towards defining the market itself. And furthermore, the source really emphasizes that their growth, their strength, didn't come from pouring billions into advertising like the incumbents. They achieved sustainable organic growth primarily through community-driven growth, pure word of mouth, the raw passion of the founders who believed in the mission.
So they effectively bypassed what the source calls traditional corporate politics entirely. They relied instead on that collective passion, the loyalty they had so carefully nurtured and protected during that whole internal strengthening phase. That highly empowered, deeply loyal community became